Hello, and thank you for joining the first monthly Construction and Traffic Impacts webinar. My name is Wendy Thompson, and I'm part of the Streetcar team. My role is to make sure anyone that lives, works, or travels in the streetcar corridor has the most recent information on upcoming work that may be impacting you, and that you have someone to reach out to with questions or concerns. I'd like to introduce you to the people who will be sharing information and answering your questions today. First, we have Steve Jensen, Deputy Chief of Staff of Economic Development in the Mayor's Office and Omaha Streetcar Authority Board Member. We have Austin Rouser, Omaha Assistant Public Works Director, and Megan Walter, MUD Customer Engagement Manager. Also on this call is the City of Omaha Streetcar Project Team member, Mark Pullen, City Utility Manager with Public Works. And you probably see some other names from the streetcar team in the meeting, and they are here to help facilitate questions in the background. This team is 100% focused on the streetcar project and making sure you have answers to your questions. Now I'd like to turn it over to Steve Jensen. Steve?
Thank you, Wendy. As Wendy said, this is the first of our planned monthly calls. Our goal is to provide you with current, accurate, and useful information about construction in the streetcar corridor. Our focus today is the current work you see downtown, in Midtown and Blackstone, plus utility work and the first bridge demolition and replacement that begins next month. We understand that these construction projects have significant impacts on vehicle traffic, bicyclists, pedestrians, businesses, and residents in the corridor. And that's why we are prioritizing construction information today. Many of the construction-related questions that have been submitted in advance will be answered as we present today, and there will be time at the end of our webinar for new questions that you're asking in the Q&A. So we understand that this is a very complicated project. And within the overall streetcar project itself, there are a number of separate construction packages. Construction of the streetcar system and its related infrastructure is one of the last activities we will do. Since the track becomes such a permanent fixture in the ground, we will first need to move and upgrade utilities that may lie below the future track. This work needs to be constructed before the tracks are built. By splitting out these utilities into their own upfront construction packages, we were able to help the construction schedule be as efficient as possible. So what you see in front of you is the timeline of the work that is in progress in some cases, and also the work that is upcoming, and general timeframes for that work. The Mecca Lot A utility work is actually underway right now. The purpose of this work is to reconfigure the access to the Lot A parking lot and to reconfigure some of the parking stalls to make room for the vehicle maintenance facility. We wanted to get that work out of the way as early as possible to be able to free up the site for the vehicle maintenance facility. We're going to spend time today talking about the Utilities West package, number one, from Turner Boulevard West. That's the work that is going to be coming up immediately and be done during 2025. We'll spend time also today talking about the interstate bridges and the utilities associated with that. Again, that's a 2-year project, and we will talk about that today. The vehicle maintenance facility bid package is out on the street right now. We expect to get those bids back next week. And once we have selected a contractor for that work will then begin following the work on Lot A, probably beginning in about March of next year. The Utilities East package, or package number 2, is will be out on the street for bid after the first of the year. We expect to get that back in late spring, early summer, and then be able to begin that construction in June of 2025. So we'll talk about that as well on future. The Turner Boulevard sewer improvements we'll also touch on today, but that work is again will be done sometime in beginning in 2025 and then last probably through 26. And then once all of these utility packages are out of the way and we're free to begin work on the permanent mainline construction, we'll get started on that work then in early 26. We've already been doing, and MUD has already been doing gas relocation work, and that work is going to continue through this time frame. And we will talk about that here in a minute with Megan. We also will talk a little bit today about the ongoing communications and fiber utility relocation work, and Austin will touch on that later. So with that, I think we are ready to begin the discussion about the MUD work, and Megan will walk through that. So Megan, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Megan Walter, and I am the manager of customer engagement for Metropolitan Utilities District. As of right now, there is a traffic control plan in place on Farnham Street, where only one westbound lane is open to traffic from 38th Street to 40th Street. Traffic is advised to use Harney while this work is taking place. It will remain closed until Phase 4 is complete, which could be either January or February of 2025. If the customer's gas service is connected to the main in Farnham, affected parties will be reconnected to the new main once it is installed. This work does include a planned temporary gas shutdown. We will communicate the length of this shutdown when we get closer to the work being performed. Customers along this corridor will see a lot of construction activity going forward. The only time they may not see work is if the crew is pulled off for an emergency. The work on Harney from 38th Street to 38th Avenue is temporarily delayed, so we can focus on the work on Farnham Street. We plan to move to Harney when we are finished with Farnham. Customer impact will be minimal, but there may be traffic impacts once work begins, where the northernmost lane would be restricted, but traffic will still flow on Harney. For 10th and Capitol, the traffic control plan was set up on Monday, December 2nd. The northbound lane furthest to the east is closed from just south of Dodge to just north of Capitol. The left turn lane in Capitol between 10th and 11th is closed. Capitol east of 10th will be closed in both directions as well, but only at the location of one of our excavations. The work is projected to be completed by the end of February, barring any unplanned delays. Customers along this corridor can expect to experience 1 to 2 planned gas shutdowns, approximately 2 to 4 weeks apart. The expected length of the planned shutdown can vary, but customers can expect the first shutdown to last approximately 12 to 14 hours. This section of gas main is very large, which is why the planned shutdown will be so long. We will work with every affected party to restore services and light pilots as quickly as possible. Some customers may or may not experience additional planned shutdowns, but we will communicate any of these prior. Temperature has to be taken into consideration. Normally, we prefer to do this work overnight, but with expected lows, this may not be possible. We will also be cognizant of the upcoming holidays. We know this work is very impactful and invasive, but we will work as quickly and safely as possible to minimize impact to all of our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Now we'll move on to Austin Rouser, Omaha's Assistant Public Works Director, to talk about upcoming utilities work west of Turner Boulevard, which will start next month. Austin?
Thanks, Steve. What you're seeing on the screen is the traffic and construction layout for Phase 1 of what we are referring to as the Utilities West package. This work includes sewer, water, and power duct bank work on Farnham Street between 40th Street and Turner Boulevard. The work is divided into 3 phases, shown at the top of your screen, and will progress from east to west. Each phase is expected to take approximately 3 to 4 months to complete. As shown on the screen, the first phase will cover the Midtown Crossing area. The second phase will focus on the section between 34th and 38th. And the final phase will address the core of Blackstone between 38th and 40th. The red area represents a single westbound traffic lane, while the green area shows areas with typical two-way traffic flow. The red area will progress across the screen from right to left as the work moves through the phases. While the single westbound lane will generally be maintained throughout the active project, there are two planned closure timeframes during which the contractor will need to fully restrict traffic. These closures are expected to last approximately 3 weeks each and are targeted to take place during the colder months of February and March. This slide provides a closer look at the nature of the work in the immediate Midtown area. The images on the right illustrate a water main being trenched, excavations around existing sewer manholes, and the single westbound lane being maintained during construction. Parking outside of the active construction phase will remain largely open. In the active construction zone, no on-street parking will be available. However, parking garages and on-street parking on nearby streets are expected to remain open. At times, temporary closures may occur when short sections of construction cross directly through a drive entrance. In such cases, the contractor will coordinate with property owners beforehand to minimize disruption. Although parking may be restricted in front of businesses during the active construction phase, pedestrian access to all businesses and along the corridor will be maintained during business hours. We are also working to place clear signage throughout the corridor to guide customers to available parking and business entrances. One question submitted in advance asked how business access will be handled for deliveries and customers. Hawkins will coordinate with individual business owners so deliveries are maintained. Side roads and alleys will be available, and for the segment between 38th and 40th Streets, limited areas of continued on-street deliveries are being looked at. Outside of active construction zones, deliveries and customer access will proceed as usual. Next, we want to share information about the upcoming Harney and Farnham Street bridge replacements. The Harney Street bridge replacement is expected to begin in early 2025, followed by the Farnham Street bridge in 2026. The Harney Street bridge will be fully open to traffic before the Farnham Street bridge is closed. These bridges will not be built simultaneously. There are several bridges that cross Interstate 480 that were constructed together in the 1960s. The Nebraska Department of Transportation has plans to replace these bridges, and since the Harney and Farnham bridge replacements are needed for the streetcar project, they are being completed first in the series. The remaining bridges will not be constructed at the same time as this project. Therefore, streets like Leavenworth, St. Mary's, Dodge, and Douglas will provide alternative routes into and out of downtown. There was a question submitted with concern for commuters who take I-480 to downtown being impacted for the duration of the project. To be clear, 3 lanes of traffic in each direction on Interstate 480 will be open to traffic throughout the project. There will be a small number of full I-480 closures limited to weekends. These closures will not occur during big events like the College World Series, and there will be advance notice of these closures and signed detour routes. Additionally, the Harney on and off ramps from I-480 will remain open to traffic for most of the project. The contractor is only allowed a few weeks to close each ramp and intersection for major utility work. These closures will be announced to the public in advance. Therefore, exits at Leavenworth and 14th Street will provide alternative routes into the downtown area. The contractor was just authorized on Monday, and we will get their schedule details soon. We will have more details about construction, traffic plans, and wayfinding during our January meeting, and we'll discuss these updates throughout the year. Throughout 2024, you've seen many communications and fiber relocation projects occur along the corridor. These projects tend to be short-term and less invasive than the projects we've already discussed. By the end of this year, areas west of Turner Boulevard and in the Capital District will have nearly all of the known communications and fiber utilities relocated for the streetcar project. In 2025, the areas highlighted in the red circles We'll continue to see fiber and communications relocation work until approximately fall of 2025. This is primarily from the old market west to I-480. This work is highlighted in our weekly construction emails and on the construction GIS site on our website if you would like to look specifically at the areas that affect you. If you have not yet signed up for the emails, we will have information on how to do so at the end of the session.
Thank you, Austin. Shown on your screen is a high-level overview of the projects coming up. Vehicle maintenance facility. The maintenance and storage building for the streetcars will be located southeast of 8th Street and Capitol Avenue in the south section of CHI Health Center's parking lot A. The anticipated construction schedule for this project will be from March 2025 through September 2026. We received a question about the vehicle maintenance facility construction being underway. Site and utility work is underway so that Mecca's parking lot is able to remain in use during the construction of the building, as I mentioned earlier. A contractor will be selected in the next few weeks. We anticipate construction of the building starting in the spring. VMF building construction should not impact traffic in the area. East Utilities. Utilities East package includes the same utility work for the project as Utilities West, in other words, sewer, water, power duct bank, but east of I-480. The construction schedule for this project is anticipated to occur from June 2025 to December of 2026. Turner Boulevard sewer improvements. What is now Turner Boulevard used to be a creek that was much lower than the street is today. In order to carry this water, a very large, complex, and deep sewer system was constructed many years ago under the street. The Turner package includes improvements to this sewer system between Farnham and Harney. The anticipated timing for this project is the end of 2025 and is expected to last 1 year. Streetcar mainline work. The streetcar mainline package includes all of the infrastructure needed for the streetcar to operate. This is when you will start to see the overhead wire and streetcar tracks being placed in the ground. This work is expected to begin in early 2026. So business support, signs in the corridor. Before we get to the questions you're submitting in the chat, I want to talk about some signs you may have started to see in the corridor this week. Our team has been working with folks from the districts to identify ways we can help support businesses during construction. We're grateful for the input from Midtown Crossing, Blackstone, and 10th Street business owners over the past weeks, and look forward to continued input from these and other districts going forward. Please be sure to let us know if you would like to meet with us about wayfinding and business support signs in your area, or if you have additional ideas. These signs are just one of several ideas we're working on, and I hope to have more information to share with you on next month's call. And now Wendy will connect your questions to some answers. Wendy?
Thank you, Steve. So we have gotten one question, so thank you for that. But we're going to start with the pre-submitted questions here. So if you have additional questions, please go ahead and send those in, and our facilitators are getting them added to my list. So we are going to start with the first one for Steve. Will my electricity be impacted, and how will I know about an outage? Steve?
Most businesses and residents will not be impacted with the Utilities West project. We've been working with OPPD and the customers that will have been identified already, and most, if not all, have already been contacted by OPPD. If you have questions about your specific business, please add your address and business to the Q&A, and we'll follow up with you.
Thank you. Our next one is also for Steve. Will there be a, where will the new dedicated bike lane be located since the one on Harney Street was removed?
As I said earlier, we will be constructing a new bikeway in the corridor at the completion of the streetcar. We hope to begin that work towards the end of the construction phase of the streetcar. But generally speaking, the route will be uh, eastbound from Turner Boulevard on Farnham Street. It'll run across the new bridge. It'll run east to 17th Street. It'll be on the south side of Farnham. When it reaches 17th Street, it will switch over to Harney, and then it will run on the north side of Harney from 17th Street east to 10th Street. So the design of that bikeway is currently underway. And as I said, we hope to begin construction of that as we wrap up at the end of the streetcar construction work itself.
Thank you. Our next question, Steve, is this is a heavy pedestrian area. What can be done for pedestrian safety?
Well, with the work, the city's contractor is required to perform all their excavations behind fencing or barriers. They're not allowed to store materials and equipment in the areas outside the phase actively being constructed. And the sidewalks are all required to be reopened during key times for college, like the College World Series and Berkshire Hathaway.
And our next question, Steve, with the constant changes in traffic, how am I supposed to let people know how to get to my business?
Well, for all out-of-towners, we'll inform mapping services like Google of the construction activities, so refer them to those services. For local patrons, the new garage options and wayfinding signage will help navigate them during construction.
Thank you. Austin, it was reported in the media that both bridges were closed. Could construction of the bridges overlap?
There could be some overlap of certain types of construction activities on both Harney and Farnham streets, but one of the two bridges will always be open to traffic. Additionally, the Dodge Street and Leavenworth Street bridges will remain open during the project.
Okay, thank you. Steve, how can you make sure that the roads are opened on time, then construction doesn't lag?
Well, the contract language includes a fine that the contractor would have to pay per day if they go past the closure limit. And so we are confident that the contractors will stick to the schedule.
Thank you. And then, Steve, are there any plans for financial assistance for businesses that are so greatly affected by the road work?
Well, we would very much like to offer financial help to businesses that may be impacted. We're working on how to identify potential funding to create that type of program, and we'll have more information on that later.
How are you communicating with business owners and others about the project?
Well, you have the information, I think, in the webinar here about how to get in touch with you, and you'll be able to contact them and keep in touch with them during the construction period. We'll also have these webinars every month, and people will be able to pose questions and get them answered here. You can also always send questions to the Streetcar Authority website. Those questions are monitored and people regularly answer those questions. So I guess those are three ways that I can think of. Wendy, I know you also actually go out and meet with people. So if there are some other ways that we'll be contacting them or keeping in touch, go ahead and pass that along.
What do you tell business owners who are still not sold on the streetcar system?
Well, I guess the thing I would say is that well, first of all, the mayor and I go out and give presentations on the streetcar. So if someone has questions and would really like a complete explanation, and a mayor or I or together, we're happy to go out and speak to groups and talk about the streetcar, why we're doing it, how we're paying for it, what the benefits are. Always happy to do that. We've now spoken to almost 4,000 people. And so we've talked to groups as small as 8 to 10 people at a morning breakfast, all the way up to several hundred people at major events. So that's probably the best way for people to really understand what it is we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the benefits are. Beyond that, we certainly have a lot of information again on the OSA website. Probably just about any question you can think of is answered on that website, and a lot of good information there. I think the biggest thing I would say is what the streetcar is allowing us to do is that since the 1960s, we've lost about 21,000 jobs in the urban core. We have added about 13,000 parking stalls. And as we looked at the urban core in the most recent urban core strategic planning effort with the chamber, but also going all the way back to the downtown plan that was produced in 2009, what we found was that we have a great demand for development in the urban core, but we can't park all of that development. And so we now devote almost 50% of our urban core to parking, and about 50% of that parking sits vacant during the day, during the week. And so that's not a great use of our land. It's not a great way for the city to generate property tax revenue that we need to support all of the services that the city provides. And what we found when we studied it was that in order to really be able to use that land more efficiently and to accommodate the 30,000 jobs and 30,000 residents that we can attract to the urban core, we've got two choices. One is to build another 50,000 parking stalls that will sit vacant half the time. That'll cost a minimum $1.5 billion and would have to be subsidized by the taxpayers. At the same time, those 50,000 parking stalls would consume about 40 square blocks of land, and with nothing but 6-story tall parking garages. On those same 40 square blocks, we could build a minimum of $2 billion worth of new development, which would then pay taxes. And so it doesn't make sense to us to devote 40 square blocks of land to 50,000 more parking stalls that sit vacant half the time and then use taxpayer dollars to subsidize that parking. The streetcar allows us to use the existing parking that we have more efficiently, so we don't have to build all of that new parking, and it allows us to free up more land for new development. If you look at the new Mutual Tower, the building can hold about 4,000 people. There are about 2,000 parking stalls underneath that building. The other 2,000 stalls, if they need them, are back at Midtown and connected by the streetcar or anywhere along the route. When you look at the new Duo project, same thing. We're making use of existing parking. We'll actually share some of that parking in the Mutual Tower nights and weekends. And we're building a few additional new stalls, but probably only building about half of what would be normally built for a project of that scale. And I can go on. The same thing is true for virtually every other project that is coming online. So I guess, and one last thing I would throw in right now, as these bids come in, the costs that we have estimated, the bids are coming in at or under engineers' estimates. So we feel very good about where we are in terms of our cost estimates for the project. At the same time, the studies that were done ahead of time for the financing assumed that the MuniCap company that was hired assumed that we are basically projected that we would be able to generate about $2 billion worth of development over the first 15 years of the project. We are now 3 years into that, and by the end of this year, you just saw another announcement today. We're approaching $1.4 billion of announced projects and projects that are already in the pipeline. We know of many more projects that are underway that just have not reached the point of announcement yet. And we're only 3 years into the project. So again, right now our costs are coming in at or under engineers' estimates, and our revenue is far exceeding what was projected. So the system is paying for itself as we anticipated that it would. The taxpayers are not at risk. If you're not a commercial or multifamily property owner within 6 to 7 blocks of the streetcar line, you're not paying for the streetcar. And so the taxpayers are not at risk. There are no tax increases required to construct the streetcar. So it pays for itself. And at the end of the day, produces a lot more opportunity for development. So those are some of the reasons. As I said, go to the website. There's a lot more information there.
Thank you, Steve. So we've gotten a couple more comments or questions. If you would like to send in any questions for us to answer about construction or traffic impacts or how things are going to affect you in the next couple months, please feel free to put those in the Q&A form. So our next question, and Austin or Steve, would you like to answer? Do you have any officially planned detours or traffic rerouting through the area?
I can take that one. As with any construction project, our contractor provides a detailed schedule after they've received a contract. That schedule is updated weekly, and we'll receive updates weekly as the project progresses. Our current project that we have a contract for is the Utilities West package, which is in 3 phases that we've discussed earlier in the presentation. Each of those phases is estimated to take 3 to 4 months. So our first phase, we have a detailed schedule on that takes us through April of 2025.
Thank you. And will there be a construction phasing schedule for each of the zones along Harney and Farnham? I believe this one is maybe in regards to actual streetcar mainline track. Austin or
Yeah, I
Steve?
think I would, again, when we have those contracts, we'll have weekly progress meetings with our contractor. They will be required prior to the project to provide a detailed schedule of activities throughout the duration of each phase of each project and each package that is put out for construction. And we will have weekly updates. We can summarize those updates on our monthly calls. So stay tuned for more information about details and schedule.
Now we'll get to the close of our call and we'll share a little more information. And if you have questions that we were not able to address on this call, we'll be contacting you with the registration email you provided when you signed up, as long as it wasn't an anonymous question. So I want to let you know about our construction communications that are going on. Again, this was the first of our monthly calls. Today we focused on the MUD work, Utilities West, and bridges. We will use these calls to cover all of the milestones Steve outlined. Please plan to join us the first Wednesday of every month at noon, with the exception of January, which is scheduled for January 8th because of New Year's. We understand not all of these times work for everyone, which is why we record them and post them on our website. You will need to register each time to receive a new link. If you're on this call, we'll send you a reminder via email from your registration before next month to remind you to sign up. Even if you can't attend, please fill out the form and submit your questions so we can address them on the next webinar. This is an incredibly complex project, so we're trying to make information as accessible as possible for you. And here's a few of the other ways we're doing that. I send out a weekly email that highlights the work areas and provides pertinent project information as seen in the example on the presentation. Please sign up to receive these updates on our website. You can either scan the QR code or go to the website listed there. We also have developed a GIS-driven map to allow you to drill down to the neighborhood that you live or work in to find out about how you will be impacted. It also provides more detail about the West Utilities project and the I-480 Bridges project and is updated frequently. And finally, if you have immediate concerns or would like more information from the project team, please contact me by phone or email. We're all in this together to keep Omaha moving forward. We appreciate your attendance and hope you join us next month to learn more about the upcoming construction and traffic impacts.